Hello, good morning. I'm Devin with Atlo Software. Thank you for having us here today. We're excited to be here. And we just wanted to introduce our company to you, tell us a little bit about ourselves. We started about 6 years ago. We got a call from the Louisiana Department of Corrections, and they had a need to get online services into the prisons for education. And I didn't have a real job then. I used to be the head of IT for the University of Louisiana system, and I was just enjoying myself swinging a hammer and living my life doing construction. And they gave me a call, said I was the highest ranking IT slash education person that they knew of, and seeing if I could figure it out. And quite frankly, there's no way I could have, far beyond me. And so I called the smartest guy that I know, nicest guy that I know, my buddy Clay Nixon. He and I met as janitors in 1992 and have remained friends. And I think this is a good point for me to turn it over and let him tell you a little bit more about what we do.
Thank you, Devin. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for having us on here. So Atlo is all created out of necessity for corrections education. Devin gave me a call and asked me about the project, and it was intriguing. So we went all in, and over 3 or 4 months, developed a network alongside Amazon Web Services to make sure that this network was secure, that it was monitored, that we had physical device security, software development that we had to go through. A lot of things have to go into corrections when you talk about putting a laptop or a computer that's internet connected into the hands of an incarcerated student. So challenges were tough. We spent a few months putting all that together. And after we installed our first lab there, we started to see the successes of this type of delivery. Inmate labs were the last to get attention from a very thinly spread IT company, IT department. So manual updates had to be done, things like that. They weren't getting done. So this just changed the game. So now we have real-time current content delivered right into the prison in a computer lab environment through our Launchbook laptops and also into our smart boards. So we work with a lot of different education providers, as you can see here. And there's more that we work with, but everything from learning how to read all the way up to post-secondary education, industry-based certifications, and we're focused just on education. So in the years that we've been referred to as the Netflix of corrections education. So we are the safe conduit to the content. We do provide a corrections-ready learning management system, which is great for use for adult education, and also this brought us from education into testing services. So the state said, hey, we love this. This is great. It's working great. However, we'd like to convert from paper-based high-set testing to computer-based high-set testing. And of course, Devin and I said, yeah, sure, we can do that. And we had no idea how to do that, by the way. We worked very closely with ETS, and we're all friends now. But in the beginning, they said it was going to take us 2 years and $2 million to develop a platform that met their testing requirements, along with the environment of being inside of a prison. We did that in about 3 weeks, to their surprise, which was a huge win for us. We're now going through education services, and now we're able to test them right there inside of the prison, computer-based. That expanded rapidly as other testing organizations realized that we were able to do this safely, securely, and monitored. And we were able to deliver that test uninterrupted. And the end user experience was just that it would be if they were a free person at a testing center on the outside. So great thing here is that they're getting the education, but now they're walking out with the credential, with the certification. When they are released, they can show that employer that, hey, this is what I've got. And that brings us right into the industry-based certification programs. This is where the rubber meets the road here. This is where these folks are getting their curriculum, they're getting their hands on, and they're taking that test right there in the prison and walking out with that credential. Lots of partners here, Automotive Service Excellence. We'll tell a story about that here in a minute. General Motors and Toyota, this is big. You know, now we're offering manufactured specific certifications inside of prisons. So these men are walking out of this program making upwards of 45, 50K a year, and quickly increase to somewhere around 75 in 90 days. So you could see the value of these types of programs. for the incarcerated men and women throughout the nation. So what does it look like? This is an Atlo Learning and Testing Center. And we call it Learning and Testing Center because on any given day, you'll walk into this lab and it'll be full of students learning. They're able to launch whatever piece of software that they're wanting to do. Maybe they're learning how to read. So we have some guys learning to read over here on the left. Here in the middle, we may have folks working on their high school equivalency. On the right, we may have folks working on industry-based certifications, all at the same time. So it's a Swiss Army knife type product to deliver these sort of curriculums inside of the prisons. Here's an image of some other labs. They're all different. It just depends on the room, how much space they have. The one on the left here is the Automotive Service Excellence Testing Center at Angola Prison, the highest maximum security prison in the nation that's offering some of the most amazing industry-based certifications and education resources to their population. So we also have our launch book. These are laptops. They're Wi-Fi, they're mobile. Students are able to bring these to their dorms and actually use them in their bunk. We've used these a lot for post-secondary education delivery, where we have even an office suite that they have available to them. It's a highly modified version of LibreOffice, and we've removed functionality that needed to be done, taken out for use inside of a corrections facility to make it safe. So we're operating in about 8 states with these right now. It's very successful. Students love the device as compared to a tablet. This is a full laptop, 12-inch screen, chiclet keyboard. We're not talking about a 7-inch tablet here with a roll-up jelly keyboard. The end user experience is much, much better. Atlo also has 65-inch and 75-inch smart boards that are monitored and managed just like all of our other devices. Our operating system is based off of Linux. It's very secure, safe. It is cloud managed, so we can take control of the devices at any time. We can reach in and grab files. We can brick them, update them. Very safe, very secure for use inside of the prisons. So post-secondary education is a big part of our company. We do deliver post-secondary education for many colleges, Ashland University being the largest. They are the leaders in corrections education, post-secondary delivery. They've been at it about 53 years. And it's amazing to go in and see these graduations and such when you see these students graduating with their 2- and 4-year degrees inside of the prison. Other universities we work with around the nation: Tulane, Rio Salada, LCTCS, and Lee College. Lee College operates out of Texas. Pretty groundbreaking that we were finally approved in the state of Texas that allows their offenders to have Wi-Fi in the dorm and have an internet connected device. It's the first time that's ever happened. So we're looking forward to all of our expansion throughout the state of Texas with post-secondary. So here you go. You can see the smiles on the faces here. This is Marion County Correctional Facility in Florida, where we launched the Ashland program. So these guys will go to work during the day, and they'll come home and they'll grab their launch book and they'll start doing their college credit courses right there in their dorms. This is 2020 January, I believe, and this enrollment has been going up 20 to 25% each semester. So greatly successful. This is a women's facility launching the Ashland program pre-COVID. We would go and actually issue the launch books to the students. We'd sit there and make sure that they were comfortable with it. This picture here, there was one girl that was visibly shaken when we handed her device, and she looked at us and said that she'd been locked up so long she'd never used a computer. And so Devin and I went and sat down next to her and got her signed into her device. She launched the word processor and typed a little message to her teacher and actually uploaded it into the Blackboard as an introduction of herself. So those types of things there is what you kind of run into with corrections education. But look, that was the first time she touched a computer, but she's in her 5th semester now with Ashland and doing fantastic. We also do hosting for learning management systems. We talk about a lot of things with security, right? Learning management systems have great features that free people can use. Collaboration, group work, feedback, forums, discussion groups, those types of things. However, those things can't be used inside of a prison. The last thing they want to do is be able to use some sort of digital device to communicate with someone on the outside that may be able to cause harm to someone or out cheat on a course or things like that. So a lot goes on when we talk about the security and how we have to maintain these things such that there's no breach and these programs continue to go on.
All right, this is one of my favorite things, the Atlo library resources. We first found out about library resources, we realized how lacking they are. If you have a question, any of us can just go to Google and find out some information. The way they do it in prison is you're allowed to write those questions down, and they're mailed in. If you can hopefully get an envelope and a stamp, and they're mailed into the library. Within a few months, those questions are answered and sent back and mailed back to you. Now what we've done is we do all this digitally. So we have worked with the state of Louisiana, the Department of Corrections, and the library system. So now that they are able to get research questions put back, answered, often within the same day or in a couple days, as opposed to a couple months. Next slide, Clay. That's the first one. That's our first question that was answered. I was real happy there. It worked. They're used every day throughout the entire state, and it has made research for education. It is greatly improved the turnaround of it. Next slide. Hey, and here's another great one. This is us when we also have the ability to get books. If you look behind them, there's not a lot of books in there. But there's a lot of books in the state, and so now each library is treated like each prison library is treated like a local parish library, and so now they get deliveries once a week of pickup and drop-offs, and you're able to go to one of our terminals and request a book. And the very first person to ever ask for a book is the second guy on the left right there. And he asked for a high-level book in German. And I was just so blown away. I was like, oh my God, you speak German? He said, no, I read it. And I said, well, what's the difference? He said, well, who am I going to speak to? I said, well, that's a good point. And but that fellow reads slash speaks 7 languages. And that whole team, most of them are not getting out. Have a real purpose in life and help assist students every day with their education resources.
Yeah, that's a great thing. This program came, we just had to do it. When we found out these letters were taking 8 to 10 weeks to get these questions answered, by that time, your question may have been about a class you were taking, a course you were taking for Ashland, and you needed that information back to write that term paper. And 8 to 10 weeks, by the time you get it back, the semester's over with, and your grade could have been better. Your paper probably could have been better had you received that information. So we call it Google by proxy. It's really a neat thing that's been created here, and it's not just for education. These folks just may want to go in there and ask a question about who was the MVP of the Super Bowl in '72. They can ask these questions and get answers to them now. So further to research, Westlaw, one of the largest legal research companies in the nation, we are partnered with them and provide legal research terminals, internet connected, inside of the prisons, along with cloud printing services to accompany that when necessary. Interestingly enough, we put the first ever internet connected legal research terminal in death row at Angola prison early last year. And it's quite a unique experience. EBSCO, that's a great research portal there too. We worked with EBSCO over the last 18 months to develop a corrections specific portal for EBSCO. So now a lot of folks don't know it, but there is a correction specific EBSCO portal that you can subscribe to and have these students have access to it safely. Over the last year or so, Atlo's worked with our partner Technomedia to develop a distance learning system, the only one that we know of that was built for corrections. So this is able to pipe in live streaming classes right into the Launchbook, smartboards, any Atlo device. So students are now able to see the live stream of the teacher wherever they may be. They're able to interact with the teacher. They can raise their hand digitally and ask a question via text through a chat with the teacher. However, everything's private. Again, a lot of security had to go on here. These students can't see each other. They can't see their names of other students. All they see is themselves and the teacher. So we're able to make the teaching a little bit more efficient to where the teacher, physical teacher in the room teaching to a class of 20 students. And then that class is over, those students leave, 20 more come in, and she teaches the same class. Well, now we're able to teach all 40 of those people at the same time. And the reason she had to do it twice is because those two groups of 20 people didn't get along and could not be in the same room together. So it's becoming more efficient, and the interaction is still there. So COVID, briefly shut it down, but as we implemented these things, these classes were able to continue. We onboarded a couple of universities in about 30 days. So we do have a learning management system. These things are just great. However, we stripped all that functionality out that we couldn't have. You still have a very robust system where they're able to, it's compatible with all your HTML5 plugins. You can upload multimedia, embed PDFs, and of course you can have quizzes that are graded automatically and things. So great component here for the learning management system. Teachers are able to interact with the students. Students can ask questions to the teacher, right? However, no one can delete, not even the teacher. It's a very safe messaging system, but still allows communication between the teacher and the student. One thing we didn't expect was to be able to use that technology for other things other than education. When we learned that the United Way and Goodwill and the veterans were unable to get into the prisons anymore to interview these folks pre-release, we figured we had to do something about that. So what we did is use that distance learning system in a fashion which we didn't expect to create a safe, secure video monitoring, video conference system so that these in-reach programs can continue. They're very valuable because these organizations offer services to these men, women, and juveniles post-release. So we're very glad that these things are able to still happen. We took paper-based forms, we digitized them, so now their applications are sent electronically, and these in-reach programs are continuing. One thing we talk about is security again, single sign-on, which is a big thing. So if you have a public portal out there and you give an offender username and password to this public portal, and he happens to know the URL. So if it's, say Ashland University, and he can call someone on the outside and say, hey, go to ashland.edu and here's my username and password, and you can sign in as me, and hit edit profile and go to my first name and change my first name and put messages in there and save it. And that's how they communicate. And they'll try that, they will do it. So we fixed all of this by making a single sign-on system so that the offender knows their credentials to a secure server that's not publicly available. You can't get to it from the outside. So once they get signed into that system, we can now link them out to other websites, sign them into their account automatically, encrypted, and they have no idea what their real username and password is. This is the gates of Louisiana State Penitentiary, the largest maximum security prison in the nation. We are based out of Louisiana. It happens to be in our backyard. It's a great place. Used to be the bloodiest prison in America, and now it's called the most blood-bought prison in America. It's turned around over about 25 years. It's an amazing place. This is the Career and Technical Education Lab at Angola. This picture is taken from the first time in the history of the United States that an automotive service excellence professional computer-based test was delivered and proctored inside of a prison. This is a much more comfortable experience than these men had to go through previous. To take this test at an outside testing center, they were up at 2 in the morning, inspected for public transport, shackled, put on a bus, hour and a half ride to the public testing center, state police escort, so you can see how expensive these things can be. They would climb the stairs. This one was on the 2nd floor in their wrist and ankle irons, sit down at their computer to take their test, and their wrist irons would be removed. And they'd been up for nearly 8 hours and put through all of that to go and take this certification exam. Now we come and we bring them in to the education into the reentry center. We check their IDs, they can have a cup of coffee, and we bring them right into the lab and proctor the exam in the same environment in which they're learning in. A big difference than what they were used to before. This is a picture of the first guy that ever that completed his test that day. He's doing very well. He left and went released to and worked at a General Motors dealership, and is doing fantastic. Here in the back there, that guy's name's John Sheehan in the black shirt. John is the lead automotive instructor at Angola, and it may surprise you to learn that he's 33 years into a life sentence. Use lifers as teachers here in a lot of programs, and this has been very successful, and this model is being replicated throughout other states in the nation because of how successful that it's been. On the right there is the editor of the Angolite magazine, also serving life. This is a shot of the students that took their test that day. Everybody in this scene is getting out except for the guy in the white shirt and the guy in the blue shirt. They're also serving life sentences and are the assistant teachers for the automotive repair program. This was also the first group to get access to the General Motors training at Angola. I love this picture here because we just gave this guy here, David, his score sheet, and you could see who's engaged here. It's his assistant teachers, those guys serving life that want to see how their student did and are engaged in their progress. Again, another smile here. The lady sitting with their back to you there was a corrections officer that's been on the job for 28 years. There wasn't a dry eye in this room this day. And she said on the van ride back to the administrative building that was her favorite day on the job. Again, just greeting some of the guys after they took their exam. By the way, this is also improving our scores. It's improving participation in the programs because things are a little bit more comfortable now. Seeing better grades, better participation, it's just a win-win. David Wilson here was one of the first guys to get General Motors training and was actually hired by a GM dealership before he released. So word got out about all this programming going on, and now these businesses are coming to the prison. They're meeting these men and women. They're hiring them before they release. And this just happens to be David's first day on the job. So this was about 10 miles up from my house at the General Motors dealership, and Devin and I went up there to see him. And you could see he's trying to show off that diagnostic tool there. He's happy to be able to use that. It gets even better when when the tools are delivered, the prison buys their first set of tools. Mr. John Easley delivers them. On his right is Bill Hood, the owner of the dealership. On his left is Craig Estave, the service manager, his new boss. And you could see the uniforms are delivered now, and we got a very happy automotive technician here. And when you string these together, you can really see how this sort of education and having access to this type of curriculum at this level can do for somebody. It's our mission every day to try to provide services, education services to this population. A lot of folks don't realize that 95% of the people incarcerated today are going to get out. They're going to get out and be back into our communities, and we need to do everything that we can with them while we have them to make sure that they're a successful part of our community. Atlo was recognized here by the ATP, the Association of Test Publishers, back in 2019, where we did receive the Innovations Game Changer Award and Audience Choice Award for our progress in corrections education and testing. This was a nice thing to have received from ATP. Funny enough, a few weeks later, we received an email that said, WHO EOP, we need to talk to you type thing. And Devin and I did not know what that meant until we Googled it. And that was the Executive Office of the President. And believe it or not, there we are sitting there at the White House having a 2-hour meeting with senior policy advisors on corrections education reform and what we do. It was quite a unique experience. And this is what we do. Devin, you want to kind of finish this off here?
Yeah, I mean, seeing a graduation, watching them walk across that stage and get their diploma, and it could be from learning how to read all the way up to a master's degree. And Clay and I, on this day, we actually had the honor to speak at that graduation, and we watched almost 250 men graduate with a diploma of some kind. And I have to tell you, it was one of the greatest days of my life, and what gets me out of bed and wants to go to work every day is having moments just like this. So thank you all. We appreciate you having us, and we look forward to any questions you may have.